you mentioned, 70 years ago today, the Corvette debuted at the General Motors Motorama show right here in New York City. So to celebrate, Chevrolet is introducing 2024 Corvette E-Ray. It's electrified. It's the first of its kind. The E-Ray will be on sale later this year. But if you can't wait, swing on by our neck of the woods and take a look. It will be here on display. Of course, you know what goes good with coffee? Some donuts. And oh, by the way, Carrie, for your retirement, Tom Mazzarelli, our executive producer, is giving you this Corvette E-Ray.
Congratulations,
The only thing is, the only problem is you got to figure out how to get it off the ring.
Goodbye, Carrie.
All right, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed that little bit of skate rink E-Ray intro. Today's the day. So you guys, a lot of you guys here were here last night for the Corvette Weekly update that we typically do, and I really expected we would get this information from GM closer to afternoon today, but we had it really early. So about 9 a.m. Eastern time is when it came out. But if you guys saw the community tab post that I put up last night at about 8:45, I had confirmation of the price and the horsepower rating on the car last night, right after our Corvette Weekly. And every time I start into the live videos, I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. And if I hadn't put it on Do Not Disturb, I would have actually had the information for you guys last night, which would have been really cool. But it is what it is. Either way, I see a lot of you guys over here are thinking pretty much the same thing that everybody seems to be thinking, and that is, how did this car get to be so freaking expensive? I mean, as of last night, I would have put money on the fact that this car was going to be placed right in between a C8 and the Z06 price-wise. It's not even close. It is $2,000 less than the Z06. So if you guys haven't seen the announcement trailer yet, I have a whole bunch of videos up on the channel already. I've been doing YouTube stuff like a madman today. So I got some videos up. I got some shorts up. I now have a live video going on it. And guys, it's nuts. The car is absolutely, I don't even know what to say about it, because it's more than I expected, but so is the price. So right off the bat, I would have said 600 horsepower for this car. It's got 655. And it comes with some really cool options that not a lot of people are talking about right now. And one of them is actually the weight of the car. We've talked a lot about this. Batteries are heavy. The car is going to be so much heavier, blah, 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 blah. In my research here, I'm finding that the car is 50 pounds heavier. 50 pounds. That's it. So if that's the case, there's no drawback to this car. I mean, the battery itself is a lithium-ion battery. So if you guys remember, not too long ago, I did a video swapping out my typical battery that is in the back of the C7 Corvette, which is your, I can't remember what they call it now, wet cell or something along those lines. It weighs somewhere around 50 pounds. The lithium-ion battery that's actually more powerful than that battery only weighed like 8 or 9 pounds whenever I swapped it out. So if GM is using a lithium-ion battery on the E-Ray, it stands to reason that this thing may only actually weigh 50 more pounds than the Z06. So yeah, again, we're talking about a car that has, 15 less horsepower, but it does have a considerable amount more torque, and it's only going to weigh 50 pounds more. So I'm going to show you guys the information here in 1 second, but I wanted to get that out of the way real quick because I wanted to talk a little bit about this. Standard ceramic brakes would increase the base price, of course. That's another thing. The car only comes with the carbon ceramic rotors. There is no iron rotor option. So if you want the E-Ray, you're getting carbon ceramic rotors, which in my opinion is not a bad thing, because most people are going to benefit from those anyway, just because there's going to be a lot less maintenance. Joe M, that's a good question. So he wants to know if you'll get the $5,000 thing for keeping the car for 6 months like the Z06 guys will. You probably won't, if I had to guess, because GM hasn't specifically said that, but we'll see. All right, so 2020 Matrix 8 said that he heard straight from Taj that the E-Ray is 260 pounds more. I'm not sure what to believe here because what I was reading is actually an official GM press release, and their numbers are about 50 pounds more than the Z06. Now, you might be reading maybe it's 260 pounds more than the base C8 Stingray, but over the Z06, it looks to be only a 50-pound difference. Yeah, if you took away the cost of the carbon ceramic rotors, it would be $8,000 less, which might sit closer to that would actually be real close to what I was thinking the price would be. Okay, so where are you hearing this? Because I'm going to show you in a second an official GM press release that shows it's only 50 pounds heavier than the Z06. Unless GM just puts something random on this press release, which kind of seems odd to me, but I guess it's possible. So here's what we're going to do, guys. If you could, please hit that thumbs up button before we get too much into this. I'm going to go ahead and flip over to the browser, and I'm going to show you the official press release from GM that was just put out today at 9 a.m. This is the stuff that the dealerships got. This is the stuff that anybody who needs to know about this car, this is what they saw. So let me show you here. Here we are. This is actually a document from, like I said, the actual GM dealerships. This is what they got in the morning. Now, you can see here the dry weight is what's listed, which is interesting again, because typically dry weight means it's the weight of the car without any fluids in it and without a person in it. So the fluids typically add another 200 pounds-ish. But I'll show you in a second why that doesn't really matter, because whenever we actually had the C8 Z06 talked about initially, they were telling us that the dry weight of the Z06 was also the same. So we had a dry weight of about the same with the Z06. Now, if we go even further into it, over at the Corvette blogger, you can see right here, it says the vehicle dry weight is 3,721 pounds. This is for the new Z06. The gross vehicle weight is with an additional 300 pounds, which is supposed to be enough to add up for the fluids, as well as a person sitting inside the car. So the dry weight of the Z06 is supposed to be 3,721 pounds. And if we go to the official E-Ray announcement again here, it's 3,774. So you're looking at about 50 pounds difference. Now, there's some weirdness happening here, because if we go even further into this and we go over to Speed Phenom's channel, where he actually had the car weighed with all the fluids and a full tank of gas, you can see here, his car is showing 3,680 pounds on an actual scale. So I'm not really sure what to believe here, but why in the world would GM's own press release not have the right weight on it? I can't even begin to imagine what the reasoning behind that would be. But what do you guys think here? Yeah, carbon ceramics, they do actually make dust, but it's very, very, very little. And it also creates a static electricity, so the dust never actually hits the rotor. It stays like stuck to the disc itself. Thumbs up done. Thank you, Jackson. I appreciate it, guys. If you could, please hit that thumbs up button. It really helps the channel. I'd greatly appreciate it. Hit that thumbs up. Let us know we're doing well here. Yeah, so Scott Jarvie, I actually touched on that already, and it's weird because, again, whenever the Z06 was first making its rounds and before anybody actually had one, the Z06 dry weight was listed at 3,721 pounds. Now it seems like something's wrong here, or something's off. Because if you guys are hearing 300, I'm hearing 3,721 is the dry weight on the Z06, and then the dry weight on the E-Ray is only 3,774, which is about 50 pounds difference. And yes, it could possibly be the difference of carbon fiber wheels and the carbon ceramic rotor. So maybe the 3,721 pounds of the Z06 is for the Z06, not the Z07 package car. If that's the case, that's possible that that's the difference. And either way, we're talking about a car with all the same kind of things, but with a giant battery in the center tunnel that only weighs 50 pounds more. I can't really think of a reason why GM would have put out a press release with the wrong or the incorrect information on it. So I'm curious, anybody out there who has heard 300 pounds or even around there, where did you hear it? And was it definitely comparing it to the Z06, or was it comparing it to the base Stingray? I'm curious on that one, because this is kind of a big deal, because if this car comes out with these numbers that we're seeing right now, 655 horsepower, 595 pound-feet of torque, which is considerably higher than the Z06 as far as torque is concerned, and it only weighs 50 pounds more, that's pretty crazy. Like I said, lithium-ion batteries don't typically weigh that much, so it is possible. Vet C7 says, which one do you choose between Z06 and E-Ray, Justin? I am 100% on the Z06. I think the E-Ray is cool. I will definitely review it. I'll definitely experience it, but the Z06 is what I really want. Okay, 300 is a rounded number. It was 260 something. So again, why the difference in the official press release from the GM article here? I think the 300-pound number has been floating around since most thought the E-Ray would get a 9 kilowatt-hour battery, not a 1.9. Yeah, I think this is a mistake. I don't think the weight is 300 pounds difference. Right, Scott. I showed that a second ago. The one that I saw was with a full tank of gas. It was 3,680 pounds, which is still really good. That's a pretty good, a decent weight for that car. So I'm still curious though. So once again, I'm going to show you again. This is not anything that's been edited or anything. This is an official document from GM that was listed on the Mid-Engine Corvette forum, and it shows the dry weight as 3,774 pounds for the coupe and 3,856 pounds for the convertible. That's only a 50-pound difference between the Z06 with the Z07 package and this car. Now, again, this car has a lot of the Z07 package materials on it, such as carbon fiber wheels, carbon ceramic rotors. It's possible that that's the weight that they're showing here is with the carbon fiber wheels. That's very possible. But even then, it's still really impressive that only 50 pounds is the difference between these two cars. Now, there's a lot of other interesting tidbits in this particular press release from GM. One of the more interesting ones we can actually find up here. We scroll up a little bit. This is like I said, this is exactly what the dealerships got. So if you are a Chevy dealership in any way, shape, or form, you had this sitting on your desk this morning. It talks a lot about the fact that it's a 70th birthday. Chevrolet gives the world an electrified all-wheel drive Corvette. It goes into all the details here. A lot of the stuff that isn't even actually on the Chevy website yet. And that's right here with the stealth mode. So the stealth mode is obviously that electric drive mode that we talked about last night, where I said that I thought it would be limited to 30 miles per hour. It's actually limited to 45. So you can drive this car up to 45 miles an hour in battery power, but it doesn't tell you for how long. So given the fact that the battery's not that big, I'm assuming it's probably not going to be very long. I would say probably 10 minutes, 15 minutes max. But they do go on to say afterwards that this is the new lightweight lithium-ion 12-volt battery that supports the LT2 V8 engine stop-start functionality. So again, this is going to be kind of built to help raise GM's miles per gallon across the board, because they have some cars that are pretty offensive to that miles per gallon, the Z06 being one of them. And the EPA wants to see a certain number across the board, across all cars at this point. So that's what this car is really kind of about. And it's giving, it would be counterintuitive almost to do this and put a gigantic battery in this thing that also weighed it down an extra 800 pounds, because then you're killing gas mileage. So again, it makes sense that it would only be 50 pounds, but I don't understand why there would be a discrepancy between what other people are saying and what the actual press release from GM says. even if it was the full 300-pound increase, it's still not that bad. No, it's not. It's not that bad, but 300 pounds is significantly more than 50 that I'm reading here from GM's actual press release. So again, for those of you guys just joining, GM's official press release here says that it's only a 50-pound difference between the E-Ray and the Z06. Now, I don't understand where those numbers are coming from, but why in the world would the information on GM's own press release be incorrect? Let's see. It needs blue brake calipers and blue stitching with blue stripes and logo. It's disappointing they don't offer that. There was a rumor that they were going to offer blue calipers for this car. I'm surprised they didn't. The difference in the battery could be more than that, but you got to remember the V8 from the base Stingray is in this car, not the LT6 flat plane crank. So it's possible the LT6 weighs a lot more than the LT2. And if that's the case, there still could only be a 50-pound difference between the two cars, even if that battery and everything weighs 300 pounds. So my point here is the weight difference between the two cars being 50 pounds is not necessarily just because the battery only weighs 50 pounds more. It could be the difference between the two cars in general. The Z06 has beefier axles, built differently to handle the additional power that goes through that transmission, whereas the E-Ray doesn't have to have any of that because that transmission is only handling the same amount of power that the Stingray does because the additional power is coming from the front wheels. So the difference in weight could still legitimately only be 50 pounds. GM never messes up. Yeah, they really don't. Anyway, let's move on. We covered the stealth mode, guys. You can drive this car in electric power all the way up to 45 miles per hour. They did not say how long you could do that for, but if I had to guess, it's going to be pretty limited because the battery is relatively small. They have the lightweight lithium-ion battery. Apparently, it's pretty lightweight if the difference in weight officially from GM is only 50 pounds over the Z06, but we're kind of still discussing that. Standard is the carbon ceramic brakes, so no iron options. Standard magnetic ride control, no option for a car without magnetic ride. Staggered 20 and 21-inch wheels, very likely the exact same size as they are from the Z06 because they're using the same carbon fiber wheels. They're using the low wide stance crafted body styling from the Z06. You get that same sound from the LT2, obviously. The enhanced roster of driver assistance technology. So with the 2024 Corvettes, it sounds like we're going to get a good bit more technology. So right here, it's actually saying that we are, in fact, getting lane keep assist, lane departure warning, forward collision alert, and following distance indicator. Now, another thing that I actually saw pop up on some of my research is that they are finally including a soft close frunk. So when you push down on when you close the frunk, it will just pull it. It will auto cinch it down in rather than you having to put your hand on the paint and click it down manually. I hated doing that. I'm glad that they finally decided to put that in there because it's already in the rear hatch. Now it's on the frunk as well. So getting a little bit more up to date, I should say. Steve Robertson, it does say draft, but this is the version that went out to the dealerships. It is 100% exactly what they got. So the information here is 100% fact from GM. This is a GM letterhead document that went out to all the dealerships. So the mandatory ceramic brakes were not for weight. They were actually for the brake regen. They needed the carbon ceramic rotors for that brake regen for some reason. The miles per gallon is going to be interesting on this car. It's going to have to be. There's with the fact that the LT2 can still go into 4-cylinder mode while also using that electric motor up front. I can't see this thing getting less than probably 40 plus miles per gallon on the highway. Most want less technology. It depends on who you are. Nowadays, you're not going to get less technology. And when you're paying this much for a car, you probably should have a good bit of technology in it. Especially little things like auto cinching on the frunk lid. Like that should have been an option right off the bat, especially considering how lightweight that thing is. I was hoping for a little bit of a bigger battery, let me go 10 to 15 miles, but nope. Yeah, I'm not sure how long they're going to let you go. 40 up to 45 miles, but who knows how long that will last. Dr. Corvette, they heads-up displays typically only 2LZ and up. That's another interesting thing I wanted to talk about. The E-Ray is referring to the interiors as LZ instead of LT or anything else. So the LZ is typically indicative of the Z06. They're keeping that same nameplate for the E-Ray as well. So it's a 1LZ, 2LZ, 3LZ instead of a 1 or 2, 3 LT. Anyway, the heads-up displays typically come standard on 2LT and up. I would imagine the 1LT still will not have it if I had to guess, but it is possible. Yeah, it looks like some people are saying that the heads-up display is included. That, again, I'm not sure, because a lot of the videos that are coming out right now are people standing beside the car talking about it, but there's no official GM rep there to actually like correct them. And not only that, they may not even necessarily know for sure either. Steve Robertson, it's very unlikely there will be a gas guzzler tax on this, especially if that thing comes out and puts up the miles per gallon. I think it's going to. Because, yes, as Joe pointed out, they also have a start-stop now, which means when you come to a stop in that car, the engine's going to shut off to prevent gas use. Nobody likes start-stop, Steve. Unfortunately, it is just the way it is, but nobody likes it. Donuts on the ice skating rink is very freaking awesome. I loved it. It's interesting that it seems like the E-Ray is giving the user more control over the car, over even the Z06. It seems like they're letting it do more, because to do a donut, to do a burnout in the C8 Stingray or even the Z06, it was next to impossible. And if you did a donut, it would trip a check engine light. So I guess they're giving you a little more control, and that's a good thing. That is a really good thing. The ZER option is with PS4 tires versus all season. Is that the performance option? Yes. So the Pilot Sport 4S tires are what they are giving you in the ZER performance package. Just call it a CE. Okay. Great White North Corvette says, what did everybody think of the donuts on the skating rink? We were literally just saying that was really awesome. You can't go wrong with a Corvette doing donuts. Everybody likes that. But if you're saying it's an LZ car, then they all have them. If you go on the visualizer and you go to customize your interior, it shows 1, 2, and 3 LZ. That's all I can tell you. That may change. It's possible that they'll change that, but it seems kind of unlikely considering they're already putting the visualizer out as an official GM thing. So they're showing the LZ interiors all have it. Now, I don't think the 1LZ interior Z06 had heads-up display. Car and Driver mentioned something about running out of power to the E-Drive on long tracks. That could get awkward losing front. Yeah, it really could. And this is one of the big issues with hybrid cars. This was one of the bigger issues with the NSX. When you get it on a track, it's not going to have power long enough to provide you a really long track time to the hybrid motors as well. It's just, without having a bigger battery, it's not going to work. But at the same time, if you have a bigger battery, you have way more weight, and that's not great either. So there's no real good option here yet for this, but it's going to be interesting to see how this thing plays out. I do think that the E-Ray is going to be one heck of a car. I think it's going to absolutely dominate where it needs to, but it's a really good placement, if you ask me, because the car is exactly what people want without infringing on the comfort level like the Z06 might. So the Z06 is a track car, and it's not built for everybody. A lot of people are not going to like that car, the way it rides, the way it's built, because it's not really built for the street per se. Whereas the E-Ray is basically all the good things from the Z06 and all the good things from the Stingray without any of the downfalls that the Z06 has because of the higher RPM, the lower torque. It's more a cruiser. It's more of a grand touring kind of car, I guess I would say. Arishi is not a fan of the body color boomerangs. I actually verified today that you are going to, in fact, be able to select carbon flash painted boomerangs and accents. A lot of the E-Rays shown off today have had the carbon flash painted accents, so it must be an option even though it's still not showing on the visualizer. Great White North Corvette says most people will only be able to afford one pick. What would you pick, E-Ray or Z06? I personally will pick the Z06. That's a good question for a poll, though. Let's do it again. We did a question very similar to this last night. I want to see, has any of your opinions changed? Z06 or E-Ray, assuming dealer markups and stuff are not a problem. If you could just go to the dealer tomorrow and buy one of the two cars, which one would you buy? Z06 or E-Ray? I'm going to put it in the chat here, guys. So go ahead and leave your vote there and let me know which one you would choose. Dr. Corvette, I know with the C7s, 1LZs did not come with heads-up display. So if they change that for the C8s, that's fine. I never would opt for a 1LZ anyway. So I never really looked too much into them. Mark Vet would still pick the Z06 unless you can't get a Z06. Yeah, honestly, that would be kind of the issue. I think that's really the deciding factor. If you have an E-Ray right here, but you really want the Z06, but you could be waiting years for the Z06, yeah, grab the E-Ray. Because they're similar enough that it would be okay, but ultimately I'd be trading that E-Ray in as soon as I could get a Z06. Joe says, what worries me is that charges and discharges faster than Hunter Biden. How long will it last? Typical lithium-ion technology is not as bad as you would think. With that said, though, it is still a battery, so eventually it will stop holding a charge at full percentage and all that good stuff. So odds are good, though. It would be well after you were done with the car anyway. This is tough. The E-Ray is better in the long run, but the Z06 is so revolutionary. I don't know. Personally, I literally wouldn't even consider an E-Ray. Not because it's not a great car. It's going to be fantastic. I know it's going to be. And honestly, as much as I thought the car would be priced under $100,000, I can totally see why it's priced where it's at, because it's basically almost a Z06, but without any of the potential drawbacks of a Z06 and ridiculously good gas mileage that you could probably take this thing on road trips and stuff. I still need the Z06 flat plate crank. I do too. Steve Robertson saying he would consider an E-Ray. That's interesting. That's interesting. I'm glad to see people discussing this and using their their ability to possibly get an E-Ray. That would be awesome. I mean, E-Ray is going to be a really cool car at the end of the day. The Film Gang says, the LT2 is great and all, but what if the E-Ray had a Z06 engine? Would that be interesting? Now, I've already heard the rumors popping up, guys. I've already heard the rumors that the Zora or potentially the ZR1, if we get one, is going to be exactly that. It's going to be the same hybrid front wheel motor from the E-Ray with the Z06 engine, thus giving it an even bigger boost in horsepower and calling it a ZR1 or Zora. The rumors have already started. So it is very possible that could be what's going on there, but it would be a lazy way to create the next performance variant, which is kind of GM's way, so I could totally see it happening. Kevin Horan says E-Ray and Buffalo winners. See, the thing is it's really weird because, now you have all-wheel drive, and sure, you can drive it in the snow if you really want to, but that car sits so low to the ground, you're just going to be plowing the highways. So unless you have an inch or two at most of snow, you can't really take that out anyway. You're just going to be plowing snow. Great White North Corvette says, now will the ZR1 have a twin turbo with electric motors? Rumor right now, if we get a ZR1, is it's going to be the Z06 engine with the front hybrid motor from the E-Ray. Maybe a bigger electric motor. Yeah, it could be something bigger. At this point, it's so hard to say because if the E-Ray is in fact replacing the Grand Sport, I just don't see how GM would go with a ZR1 next. I really feel like they're going to just go with a Zora. But if we get a Grand Sport in the C8 generation, which is also a possibility because they have trademarked that name a couple times, if we get that, then absolutely I see that happening. Mark Vet says, very interesting. LT6 and the 160 horsepower E-Drive. I could definitely see it happening. Chevy has blown its budget on the C8 platform. Yeah. Between that and the fact that they've done, I'll put in quotes, lazy things like that before, I could totally see it happening. Justin, do you think the next C8 variant will be the last? Only flat plane crank plus electric, no turbocharged variant. I'm kind of torn on whether or not we're ever going to see a turbocharged engine on this car. The original early leaks suggested that we would, but that was also before the huge push towards electric. So I think that stuff is outdated, and I think Chevy has pivoted and changed their minds on a lot of that stuff. So I would not be surprised, and I've said this before, that the Z06 is the last naturally aspirated, no engine or no hybrid motor setup car, Corvette from GM. If that's the case, everything going forward will either be a hybrid or a full electric vehicle. Blown 6 Gen says, I think those rumors are correct. I see no chance of GM making an ICE with more power than the LT6. Absolutely. That engine is still blowing my freaking mind at how much power that thing can create without a turbo or without a supercharger. And the video I still have coming probably later this week when I drove a Z06, the power comes on in that Z06 like a turbocharged car. It's really weird. Whenever you're like 3,000 to 4,000 RPM, it will start to like actually push you into your seat the way a turbo would. It's really strange. Justin, will the E-Ray handle better around corners on a track versus the C8 Z06? No. The all-wheel drive is not going to give it better handling in a track sense. It's going to really give it the launching ability. So between drag strips and holding traction in snow and stuff like that, as far as handling is concerned, the Z06 is going to outhandle the E-Ray because it has a better setup suspension. So it is using the FE5 suspension versus the Z06 is the FE6 and the Z07 is the FE7, I believe. I'm pretty sure. But either way, the Z06 is using an upgraded suspension for track use. This is exactly why I was comparing these two cars together and saying that the E-Ray is going to be better for most people, because if you're not taking it on the track and if you don't want to drive the car to its limits anywhere, the E-Ray is the better one to get because it's going to be softer. It's going to be more for the street. Blown 6 Gen says, no chance of a twin turbo Corvette. There was a chance at one point, but I think we're past that. Boost is outdated. Oh God, I hope that's not right. I miss Boost. I always miss Boost. Imagine an E-Ray equipped with a Pro Charger and an aftermarket exhaust with Sport Cats. We were talking about this earlier, and my question was, with the E-Ray, how could you put extra power to the LT2 without potentially disrupting the way the LT2 and the new hybrid motor work together? If I don't know necessarily that would be a problem, but it kind of seems like it might be because of the way that you can actually stomp the gas in the full electric mode, and it will automatically, at 45 miles an hour, it will automatically kick the gas-powered engine in and match the revs so you don't even feel it happen. I feel like that could potentially be, offset if you're throwing power at it at only the gas-powered side, because obviously you're not going to increase the power on the electric side at all. Dr. Corvette says, you could go out and get snow plowing contracts 2 inches or more. With how expensive this car is, a lot of people are going to have to do that. You will have an all-wheel drive setup, though, so you'll be able to move pretty well in the snow. This car is taking place in the Grand Sport, same Z06 body. I 100% agree, but there have been some rumors I've heard about the Grand Sport, but I'm pretty firm believer the Grand Sport's not happening in the 8th generation, and I also think that the the ZR1 name is not going to happen either. But we'll see. I'm not saying I guarantee any of this stuff, guys. This is just my speculation. I feel like I got to say that every time because somebody inevitably runs with this and then tries to make me look bad. But this is just my opinion. GM needs to start producing the Z06 before the E-Ray. Honestly, I think there's a reason why GM announced the E-Ray as early as they did, and it's because they're having trouble producing the Z06, and they don't want people to completely lose faith in them. Otherwise, I don't see why we got an E-Ray announced before any of the Z06s have really been filled. I mean, the only Z06s that have been given out so far really seem to be to YouTubers and people in decent places, with the select few randomly getting one. Yeah, Vet C7, the E-Ray is great for a daily driver. That's the thing. Like, if I had unlimited funds, I'd have a Z06 for the fun car and an E-Ray for the daily driver. That's how I would do it. And that's a really good, in my head, that's a really good example of what this car is. It is a Z06, only more comfortable and better on gas. I love the Seawolf Gray. Looks like a Ford GT featured on Throttle House. I'm hoping that gray looks as good in person as it does online, because GM has struggled in the past with their gray colors. I think it will be better now. Quick question on the drive modes. Will the E-Ray have race and track modes? All the videos I see just show shuttle, normal, and stealth. Those are the three that the modes it has for the battery. It actually says on this... where was I seeing that? That it has, yeah. It will actually, let me flip this around here so you guys can see it as well. The E-Ray will have selectable modes: Tour, Sport, Track, Weather, My Mode, and Z Mode. You can see right there again on the official press release. So it will still have those modes. The ones that you were seeing are specifically battery modes. I did see Rady's ride on the E-Ray. I saw a bunch of them today, so yeah, those are the startup modes. So that will give you, it's giving you more control over the way the battery is operating. So obviously the shuttle mode, I think it was limited to 15 miles per hour. The stealth is limited to 45 miles per hour. And then of course your normal mode. The Grand Sport is not happening from Rady's ride and someone else. I've been saying for a long time now that the Grand Sport's not happening and that the E-Ray is replacing it, but GM continuously renews their trademark on the Grand Sport name, and people will assume that whenever they do that, that means that there's a Grand Sport coming. That's not what that means. All they're doing is they're renewing that trademark just to keep it in case they ever want to use it in the future. Maybe the C9 will have a Grand Sport, maybe the C10. It doesn't necessarily mean it's coming for the C8 or anytime soon. Gas making boost, yes, we're just getting the basic wing that you see on the car, the spoiler. There is no Z07 style wing. There's no other wing at all that I've seen on the visualizer. The one that you've seen on the car is the only one that they're offering right now. If they're having problems with the Z06, how come we're not seeing that with the cars out there right now? I know there's been a couple hundred, but no real issues. I don't think that they're having any problems with the car. The only one that I know that has had any issues is that guy with the one that had like 50 miles on it, the engine blew, and then Stradman had a transmission gasket that went bad. That's not that big of, those aren't big issues. The engine blowing one, I guess that is, but there's a lot of things happening in the background that kind of suggest that maybe the guy was responsible for it. I'm not going to get into the drama of that, so it's possible that wasn't even necessarily a real issue. Paul, there is a way to keep the Stingray in V8. You just put it in manual mode and it won't go into 4-cylinder mode. Justin, us folks in Canada are getting the short stick on allocations of Z06s in general, so the next best thing will be the E-Ray. I've heard that the Z06 was kind of getting shorted in Canada, but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see the same thing with the E-Ray. I hope for your sake that's not the case, because I'd love to see everybody in this chat right now. I hope you all get the exact car you want, because the more of us that have these things, the better. Yeah, guys, if you could please hit that thumbs up button. It really helps the channel. I would really appreciate it. Thumbs up. Help out the channel. It helps the channel, and it helps other Corvette enthusiasts see this stuff. So hit the thumbs ups, please. Thank you. So anyway, guys, let's see. There was one other thing I wanted to talk about. Actually, there's two other things. So the C8 Corvette E-Ray is currently at the Peterson Auto Museum. So if you guys actually want to see the car, it is going to be there for today and at least 2 more days. So you could go actually check out the car. It's sitting there for you to look at. This particular shot was kind of odd to me because at this angle and that chrome ring around the wheel, it looks very Stingray-esque. Like I almost couldn't tell it was the E-Ray. That chrome ring, man, I hated that. That was just really my least favorite thing on the base C8. I know that might be an unpopular opinion, but here it is from the front. Of course, it has the electric blue stripes that are exclusive to the E-Ray right now with a tension blue interior. That's a pretty cool looking spec though, other than I'm not a fan of the wheels. I'm not a fan of the new wheels. But other than that, you can clearly tell this thing is an E-Ray or the Z06 body from this particular shot. It is there at the Peterson Auto Museum if you want to go see it. Guys, check out the thread over there at the Mid-Engine Corvette forum if you want to see the car in person, and if you're close to it, go check it out. And then, of course, let's see what else we got here. There was something else I wanted to talk about. So somebody asked earlier about the tracking of this car, and there was something else talked about pretty extensively in the press release from GM. Again, talking about tracking the car. So they're talking about the stealth mode and the tracking of the E-Ray. There's 2 driver-initiated electric modes that enable the car to travel under electric propulsion in certain conditions. I'm not going to necessarily read all this stuff to you guys, but at the same time, it is very track-focused. So the car is built to some degree to go on the track. It's not going to be quite like a Z06, but it is going to give you that ability to take it to the track as well as the street if you want to, play around the track a little bit. So that is an option for you. If you get this car, you will have some track ability. It does say at the bottom that the E-Ray design highlights include 4 aluminum wheel finishes. So the wheel that is specific to the E-Ray has 4 different finishes to it, one of them being very close to chrome. So all you guys out there that wanted chrome on this car or on the C8 Corvette, you got your wish. That is as close to chrome as I think we're ever going to get on these wheels. Yeah, I'm not necessarily a big fan of the chrome wheels, but at the same time, I want everybody to get what they want on the car. Because if we were all the same, we would all be driving around black cars with black wheels. That's no fun for everybody. I love to see the difference in people's opinions and their preferences on these cars. I want to see you get your chrome wheels if you want chrome wheels. I'm never going to rob somebody of that ability. Go get the chrome wheels. Just because I'm not a fan doesn't mean you can't be. Let's see. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, everybody deserves to get what they want on this car. I mean, these things aren't cheap, so nobody should be settling. You guys already know about the new colors, the optional carbon fiber wheels, the new Artemis dipped interior, which is a pretty close match to the cacti exterior color. Let's see. That looks like about it. Oh, you know what? I did want to talk about this performance real quick because this was another spot that was kind of unclear to me. So this again is the official document from GM to the dealerships. This is their official announcement of this car. They claim 2.5 seconds to 60 and 10.5 second quarter mile time. Now we already know that the C8 Z06 has already started to show that it can hit 10.5 in a quarter mile time. So that again begs the question, does that actually mean that the E-Ray can hit 10.4? Or does that actually just mean that both of these cars are actually 10.5? So again, the 0 to 60 time, I haven't seen anybody crack what GM is saying that the Z06 can do just yet, but we'll see how that goes, because if they can get that down to 2.5 seconds, then it's the same kind of thing. Vet C7, no, I don't think the E-Ray is going to grip better than the Z06 in the corner. It really depends, actually. I should clarify that. So if you're not going on like a track, if you're just talking about a regular turn, it's possible. But on the track itself, the Z06 is going to be outperforming the E-Ray at every level. It has a more track-tuned suspension than the E-Ray does. Even if it only weighs 50 pounds less, it still weighs less. It has better tires, especially in the Z07 package. The Cup 2Rs are more for the track. There's nothing about the E-Ray that's going to grip or corner better than the Z06. Now, if you're talking about just a flat-out launch, like a drag strip launch, yeah, 100%. That E-Ray is definitely going to outgrip the Z06. So the car in general comes with all-season tires unless you get that ZER package, and then it's going to give you the Sport 4S tires, which still have a good bit of all-season ability to them. I drove my C8 Stingray in the winter of 2020, and not anything crazy, but there was snow on the roads a couple times, and the Sport 4S has handled it a lot better than any other performance tire. Like on my ZR1, I have Sport Cup 2s. When it snows outside, don't even try to use those tires, but the Sport 4Ss are pretty good. But anyway, guys, I think that's about it. So if you guys have any other specific questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you. But the big thing I wanted to talk about today was just kind of the weight difference of the car, and some of the other little things with obviously still having the performance traction modes like Tour, Sport, Track, Weather, Z mode, all that stuff is still in the car. The battery weight, the battery performance, how the battery can actually be driven up to 45 miles per hour, or you can select that shuttle edition and give it, it would just take 15 miles per hour, which is just kind of like scooting along basically. But yeah, so the big thing here, like I said, is the weight difference between the Z06 and the E-Ray being listed as 50 pounds. I'm not necessarily saying that this is definite, but it really begs the question as to why it wouldn't be accurate on an official GM document. But yeah, so the ZER package is tires, the carbon fiber wheels, and I think, no, they didn't mention a different tuning to the suspension, but that might be part of it. They did not say that specifically yet, though. Okay, so anyway, guys, I think that's going to do it for today's video. I wanted to make a live video real quick just talking about, like I said, some of this stuff that was officially announced here in GM's document. Like I said, you can still see there again, Trevor Topkins. He's one of the main guys there when it comes to introducing this kind of stuff and getting the news out to the other dealerships. This is the document from GM talking about the E-Ray, and they list the weight as only 50 pounds more than the Z06, which is right there. So it is the official document. Take it as you will. I guess we'll go from here and see what ends up happening, because I'd like to see somebody like Speed Phenom. He put his Z06 on that scale, and his came out pretty close to what GM says that car should weigh. We need to get this one on a scale. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it. I appreciate all you guys tuning in today. Please, if you haven't yet, hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel yet subscribe if you haven't yet, guys, because I'm going to have a lot of E-Ray content coming. I already put out 2 videos today, plus my live, plus 2 shorts. I want to get this news and this information out to you guys as fast and as accurately as possible. So please hit subscribe if you haven't. Smash the thumbs up button on your way out. And yeah, guys, I will catch you next time. Thanks again, and go get yourselves an E-Ray if you can.